Welcome, Draakh, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Mörk, Gryning, this new album that's a Swedish name, Farsornas Tid, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking, how are you doing today? How is the band during the last 4 years? Because your previous album, Hinsit i Bredde, it was released in 2020.
Yeah, yeah. Everything's just fine, and we're really looking forward to the release of the new album, Faster Tid, which will be released as we're talking today. It will be released tomorrow, and yeah, we're stoked to see the response. So far, a lot of media and the critics have yeah, there have been very nice reviews so far, and hopefully we really hope that the fans will think the same about it. So as you mentioned, it was a while ago when we released the previous album. So now it's the time again, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Great, great. And one thing that I always know that I want to know, how do you feel about this new release compared to your previous one, which came out during that difficult and even that album presents your return since 2016?
Yeah, exactly. It was released right before the pandemic struck out, and we we aimed for having like some kind of a restart of the band when we released that one, and hopefully we were getting ready for going out on some tours and some gigs and so on, and all of a sudden everything was just put on hold, and yeah, we didn't do that much to those natural reasons. So I think with this album, it's kind of a reboot and restart once again, and we really hope that this time we can really go according to the plans that we had in the prior. And I mean, this album, yeah, it's pretty much of an like the previous album, but a lot of things it's been an upgrade for the in the band's sound and how the songs are built and so on. So yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Now, when do you write? Then when do you start writing songs for this new album? And are all the songs new, or do you rescue any composition that left without for the previous album?
No, we actually wrote all this stuff when we came back. We were actually in the US for a short tour in 2022, and it was actually when we returned home that we decided to start to write for a new album. So we didn't really have that much material left from the previous one. So I would say like 98% it was like brand new stuff that we did for this album.
Mm, okay, okay. So now, talking about a little about from this new album, what exactly, how in general, how the fan relate the name of the band, the name of the album with the concept that you have, melodic black metal into your music. How do you relate all these concepts? And also, the name of the album is a special meaning for you, or is try to something to combine with all this concept of the album?
Mhm. Um, Talking about the title, when you pronounce it in Swedish, you say Fasornas tid, and that you can actually translate by Google Translate and get the right translation. So it's the time of horrors. We thought that this is a very suitable title for these days when you look around what's happening in the world and so on. Um, I mean, this with the Swedish titles and song names has been much of our DNA from the very start with the first album as well, which was also in Swedish. So yeah, we actually took a lot from the start of the band, what once was from our DNA, and so to say. So you could pretty much say that we, for this album, We were pretty much influenced by the first album that we ever did, Tusen år gått. I think they're quite similar with these kind of tremolo guitars and melodic stuff, a lot of it in the album. So yeah, we basically wanted to go back what once created the band.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. One interesting point to know about this new album, and other concepts. So talking about now the concept, especially for the lyrics. So usually the lyrics of here, when I see more information about the band, you talk about the Satanism, occultism, the anti-Christianity in some way, and obviously in your way to see these kind of topics, not a general thing. So for this topic, so you still speak about this Satanism, occultism into this new album. And what's your point about now the new movement just talking about this like darkness or misanthropy into the black metal?
I would say that we are not really only into those kind of lyrics with Satanism and occultism, even though that it appears. We handle a lot of topics, different topics actually in the lyrics. So I mean, it's a lot also about the spiritual stuff and could be influenced from something that has happened in the world, manipulation,
Okay.
such things. When you look at like people are manipulating others to get their how to say their needs in the first room, you know, and by using others to reach their own goals, so to say. Yeah, so we're really handling a lot of different topics in the lyrics, I would say, not only what you mentioned about Satanism and occultism.
Okay. So now talking about the promotion of this new album, what kind of plans do you have for this new one? Perhaps you will prepare tours, upcoming tours, or perhaps you prepare a full tour here in Latin America. Who knows? Next year, or perhaps you will present videos for this new album, or perhaps or you're already working on a new album in the future for more greening.
Well, we're really hoping that this album will bring us some and gigs and some maybe some tours. And I mean, we would really much like to come to Latin America. We were in Mexico last year and played at the Candelabrum Metal Fest in León, and it was yeah, it was one of the probably one of the most greatest time that we really had with the band. And the fans were so great and they were so dedicated. So if we get the chance to come to Latin America again, we will sure do it.
Hmm. Okay, okay, interesting to know. And other point about this, you mentioned about that you played that you played in Mexico in Candelabrum in the Candelabrum 3. Yes, second
Yep.
one. And I was there, by the way. I was there. I saw
Okay.
you live playing here with. I take photos with your best player there. I remember that. So and this talking about from this Candelabrum. So how was your experience to play there? What kind of anecdotes you have to play there? How is in general? How is the festival? How do you drinks? You know, do you drinks with his fans, etc., etc. What kind of experience would you like to share about this first gig in Latin America?
We had the greatest time. As I said, it was so amazing to be over there. I mean, the festival itself, it was such a professional arrangement around that festival. And the fans and the people that we met, it was just great. I mean, they were so dedicated, and we had an incredible time over there, and that's why we wouldn't hesitate to come over again. Well, of course, it's a long way to travel, you know, a lot of hours in an airplane, you know, but it is definitely worth it. So we do it again for sure.
Okay. Now talking about a little more about your history because we spoke about the band, about the band for the last gig, your out this composition of the last album, and more things. And now talking about from the in general for the history, you start the band in 1993. Then you decide to split up the band in 2005. But since 2016, you decide to return and also present a new album in 2020. So for this topic, why at the beginning you decide to split up the band at the middle of 2000s and return in 2016?
Well, basically because of things that happen in the personal life and the ambitions and what you have left like in the creation process and what kind of inspiration you have at that time. All of these things combined together was like, yeah, for my side, I needed to step away for a little time and do something else, basically. I mean, it is when you reach to a point that you can't contribute anything when, for example, writing songs on and you don't have the urge to pick up the guitar anymore. Then it's better to step aside and take a pause from everything and yeah, and then see later on if the inspiration comes back, then of course there are doors to open again, and this time it did because we were supposed to do this like a one-time concert, and the response that we got on that concert, it was so amazing. So it basically gave fuel to the engine to start up again.
Okay, okay. And one thing that's it's more like curious for me because it's a curious thing when you decide to split up the band in 2005, you put the name of the album that you released that year like the band, so more Gryning. So perhaps this the name of the album at that moment that you split the band. So that's a special meaning. So more Gryning, the last album at that era, and you release your last album until that era. So perhaps that at that moment that name of the album has a special meaning because you will be split months later.
Yes, it was meant to be the last album for the band. At that moment, we didn't see that we will go into reunite the band in the future. We were the only thing that we had in mind was to, yeah, really to split up the band, and yeah, so hence the title was quite suitable to have it self-titled.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Now you are working, yeah, right. Since now you are working for yes, 4 years with Season of Mist. So how was work with one of the big labels in the metal world like Nuclear Blast, Listenable Records, or Century Media? So how's the experience to work since the beginning or since now, since 4 years ago to this second album? And also, how was the reception of the re-release that Season of Mist did from the first album?
System Mist is a very professional label. They know how to work within this genre. So we are just enjoying working together with them. And I wouldn't want to work with anyone else basically because we have such a good cooperation between us. Uh, it was all the way from the start really when they released the album that we did with them, the first the Hinsides Freda, the previous album. Yeah, it's been clear really the communication is very straight on, and yeah, there's nothing more to add really. We're really happy with working with them.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Now we're talking about other kind of topics. Well, as you know, since 2023 in 2024, there is a huge movement about the black metal. As you can see, a lot of bands are releasing new records. A lot of bands speaking cover her faces with hoods and mask and with their hands. Yeah, that's a right now it's a trend. It's inevitable to say this is not a trend. So what's your opinion about now this overwhelming receipt that the black metal has during the last 2 years with a lot of productions, with making or cover the faces, hooks and max. What's your opinion about this new trend into the black metal using all this kind of stuff?
W- uh, I personally, I don't believe in this covering the faces and using these kind of masks, especially not when you go to a live concert to watching the band. I've seen a couple of those bands performing live, and I don't think that gives me anything really watching at some unknown people on stage. I mean, one part of the concert, when I go to a concert, it is really to see people performing on stage on how they express themselves while they perform. You
Mhm.
can't really do that when you're hidden behind a mask. When you use corpse paint, for example, that's not a mask in that reason. Then you can still see the expression of the faces and so on. So I think that that's kind of okay. I mean, Kiss started with it back in the 70s, so and it was just a great add-on to the live show, really. And then about the amount of bands that is in the genre, I mean, what can I say? There are, of course, it's basically the same as it was in the start of the 90s. There were also a lot of bands that started up when this hype began. And then there are always pretty much yeah, blended quality of bands, so to say. That's always like that.
Okay, okay. All the detail about now, the as you can see, each weekend we have more than I don't know, more than 50, 100 releases per weekend. It's impossible to follow. Even we are in media and we work doing reviews and interviews for a lot of bands around the world. So it's impossible for us to follow that's huge amount of releases per weekend. It's impossible for us. So, but in this concept, one thing that captured my attention doing a lot of reviews, hearing music, because I'm coming from the 80s. I remember very well death metal since the metal started in the 80s, then black metal, then etc. etc. I remember very well. But when you hear the sound of that eras, you can see that the sound of that music it was more organic, more real in a lot of concepts. But now, as you can see, you hear 10 bands, 20 bands, and all these 20 or 30 bands sounds perfect. But like great musicians, great music in the studio. So now you have a new standardization of the music into the production of this in the studio. So for this, what is your opinion about now, or what's gonna be happen when this all this standardization happen? Because there is no bad band now, band worst bands or bad bands. I remember that when you selected a band in the 90s, especially from black metal, you have 10 bands, and the 10 bands sounds like the 10 bands. But now you have 100, and this with this 100 you have just two special bands in these 100 bands with standardization sound. So how is your opinion about this now, these overwhelming productions, the standardization of the sound in the music now, especially in electric music, because the heavy and thrash metal doesn't have this one, just the extreme music, the black death, or more styles related with this.
I can agree with you that I mean when the genre like started in the beginning of the 90s, the musicians was not that good as they seem to be today because uh, early in the 90s it was all about doing the music together in the band, and that's how you learned also to play the instrument. So uh, for example, for us, we really didn't have any blueprint on how to search for how to do certain techniques on guitars or certain techniques on drums and so on. You had to figure it out by yourself and together in the band when you were in the rehearsal place. So that's why I can relate to that. You say it was more organic when you were more working together. Today, you can be a band without rehearsing together, basically, because you can search for those blueprints on the guitar techniques and drum techniques and so on. You can find them in YouTube very really easy today, how to do certain things. And then you have also the technology when recording and so on. You can do it. You can do much more. Okay, maybe you can call it cheating sometimes, but you can do a lot of more things in the computer production today than you could do back in the days. So I think that's why uh, I can agree with you that there are really no bad bands today. They are not. Everyone is usually very good at playing. They have learned. They have a very good skills on the instruments today before they start up the band, really. So yeah, I can relate to that as you're explaining.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. We're close to this interview, Draakh, and for this one topic, as you can see now, the talking we are speaking about especially black metal. One of the things related especially with black metal is the satanism. I speak with a lot of musicians that thinks that the black metal is for one musician, especially for the Greek area or Norway area, they say that is the black metal needs to be satanist. Always you relate to the black metal with the satanist topic. That and I speak. I remember that you spoke last year and this year with the from for the frontman with Shining with Nicholas. I spoke with Nicholas and Nicholas told me that the black metal needs to be aggressive. This terrorist aspect in the music. So now with this topic, what is your conception about the black metal for you? Because for a lot of people need to be satanists, other people say they need to say aggressive. And when I spoke with the vocals from the Ransi Pasusu, they told me the always the black metal has a more psychological thing to understand the music. It's not just music; it's more than that.
Mm. Well, I mean, a lot of people has their own opinions and stuff, and when it comes to metal and the genres in metal, everyone wants to really uh, put all the bands like have some kind of a category of what category does this band fit into? What kind of a metal is this really? And I mean, people tend to relate us as a black metal band, and I can partly understand that. But if you look at the lyrics and the concept, I would say that we are quite far away from black metal in that matter because we are not only handling Satanism and we are not doing having this kind of a black metal sound as it should be, as people relate to. Uh, if I would choose, I wouldn't really call us black metal, but I don't. On the other hand, I don't know what we would call us either. So, uh, yeah, but I can also understand that from where the roots of black metal is, and that is really from when handling Satanism and such things. So yeah, that's only my opinion.
Okay, thank you. And one of the last questions for this interview, Dract, is that well, usually when you see about the history about you can see the history about the black metal, and for me, especially for our media here in Metalero, we spoke about a lot of black metal between friends and speak because we more like me. There's another people that it was there at that moment when the black metal created, etc. So for this topic, you usually think that the black metal starts with Bathory, that the first wave, the Bathory, the Norwegian scene, the Swedish black scene, and other scenes into the Europe. But according mostly of the press, or mostly people, they think the black metal is or begin or starts with King Diamond, with Venom, with Merciful Fate, or bands just speak about the Satanism and not the real concept of the black metal. I mean, you are talking about the riffs of the schemes that it means that represent the music, not just the concept in general, because it's very different these kind of things. So for you, what is your point of view? Do you consider it that the first wave black metal is Merciful Fate, Venom, and King Diamond, because that is more heavy thrash metal or heavy metal than black metal, that when you hear for the third album from Battery, that album it is black metal, completely black metal.
Yeah, as I see it, I haven't not really put King Diamond or Merciful Fate into that black metal kind of how to say genre. I think it's really comes from Bathory and Venom in the first place. That's where it really started. I mean, that's also this. Once again, people tend to have their different opinions on such things. I mean, the early Merciful Fate may have had handled some kind of occultism in their early beginnings, but then it's quite different with the kind of a music, how the music sound is and how it's performed between these bands. But for me, I think it really all everything really started with the Bathory.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. And one of the last questions is about the you are there. You was there when the black metal movement has a huge impact in the world. That's why your first album came when the black metal had released a lot of albums at that moment. So but usually when you're a fan, it's very different. It's very different to see. You just need to you hear the music. But as you are the composer on one of the bands, it was in the middle of this situation. So for you, what is the biggest difference that the black metal from Swedish has compared to the Norwegian and the Greek, and obviously the other one, the Finlandese? Because the Finland for me is more raw or road, and the black metal from Norway is more experimental because they have a lot of bands, and usually the black metal from Swedish is more melodic, and usually all bands are the yeah, like Dissection, Winterland, etc., etc. You can see a lot of bands more, and the Greek is more like influenced by the heavy metal scenes with other stuff. So for you, which is the best way to describe the black metal from Sweden?
I totally agree with you. The sound that was from Sweden was really more melodic. Uh, I mean, when we were kids, we were quite young when growing up in the beginning of the 90s, and I mean, we were so into this new black metal wave that came, and also the death metal wave, and black metal maybe took it a little bit more into the extreme, and yeah, we were really hooked up in that as well. But I would say the band that really kicked off Gryning to start up in the first place was really when Dissection released their first album, The Somber Lane, which is really a masterpiece, all kind of a melodic kind of a stuff,
Mhm.
and yeah, call it black metal if you want to, but it was really that album that knocked us out of the chair, and that was what influenced us the most in the first place. And therefore, Mörk, we started up Mörk, and we wanted to do something a little bit quite similar. And I mean, it was just meant to be a project in the first place, but it became something different, and the rest is history, you know. So yeah, to put it in short, I agree. It was more raw from Finland and maybe Norway, and more melodic from Sweden for sure.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Well, Drac, the sad times arrive at this moment. I hope you enjoyed this interview like me. This new album's a great one, and congratulations on it. And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect someday a full tour here, and obviously Methalarium followers?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it. And yeah, for all of you watching or listening, check out our new album that will be out now. And I hope to see you someday in somewhere in Latin America.